1,000 jobs promised, the largest auto investment in Canadian history. Then silence. No cancellation, no timeline, no answer. What Honda just exposed about Canada's EV strategy is bigger than one paused factory. It's proof the entire promise was built on sand. To understand what happened here, you need to know what the original announcement was actually promising. This was not a small expansion of an existing plant. Honda's plan involved retooling its Alliston, Ontario facilities and building a dedicated battery plant alongside a cathode and separator supply chain, the kind of vertically integrated electric vehicle manufacturing hub that very few countries in the world have. The pitch from Ottawa and Queen's Park was that Canada would not just assemble electric vehicles, it would build the entire chain that makes electric vehicles possible, from raw battery materials to the finished vehicle rolling off the line. The federal and provincial governments backed this with public money. Tax credits, direct incentives, infrastructure support, the kind of package that governments only offer when they believe they are securing something durable. The political framing at the time was not subtle. This was Canada's seat at the table in the global electric vehicle transition. Proof that the country could compete with the United States and with Europe for the next generation of auto manufacturing. For a province that has spent decades watching auto assembly jobs become less secure, that promise mattered. Ontario's auto sector employs roughly 100,000 people directly and supports several times that many indirectly. A new electric vehicle hub anchored in Alliston was not just a factory. It was a signal that the province's industrial base had a future. That is the promise that started unraveling about 13 months later. In May 2025, Honda said the project was being delayed by approximately 2 years. The company's stated reason was straightforward. Electric vehicle demand in North America was coming in well below what automakers had projected when these investments were planned. This is the part of the story that is easy to miss if you are only watching the headlines, because it sounds like a minor scheduling adjustment. It was not. A 2-year delay on a $15 billion project is not a company adjusting a construction timeline. It is a company telling its investors, its workers, and its government partners that the demand assumptions underneath the entire plan no longer hold, and the demand numbers back that up. Electric vehicle sales growth across North America slowed sharply through 2024 and into 2025. After several years of rapid expansion, consumers cited charging infrastructure gaps, higher electric vehicle prices relative to comparable gasoline vehicles, and particularly in Canada, the elimination of federal electric vehicle purchase incentives that had been propping up demand. When Ottawa's incentive program ran out of funding in early 2025 and was not immediately renewed, electric vehicle sales in Canada dropped measurably in the following months. So Honda's delay was not happening in isolation. It was happening because the market the entire plan depended on had stopped behaving the way it was projected to behave just 1 year earlier. Then, in May 2026, the delay became something else. Honda paused the Ontario electric vehicle complex indefinitely, not cancelled. Honda has not said the investment will never happen, but indefinite is a word companies use when they no longer have a date to give you, and they are not willing to commit to inventing one. Around the same period, reporting emerged that some CR-V production was shifting toward Honda's Ohio operations. On its own, that does not prove a single broader strategy. But combined with the Ontario pause, it builds a picture of a company reallocating its North American manufacturing footprint in response to where demand, trade policy, and cost actually sit, not where governments hope they would sit. This is where the Canada EV lie framing needs to be handled carefully, because the honest version of this story is more complicated than a simple deception narrative, and the complicated version is actually more useful to understand. Canada did not lie about wanting an electric vehicle manufacturing sector. The investment commitments from Honda, from Stellantis, and from Volkswagen's battery plant in St. Thomas were real commitments, backed by real money, both corporate and public. Ontario was not inventing a strategy out of nothing. It was responding to a genuine industry-wide bet that electric vehicles would become the dominant form of vehicle production by the early 2030s, and that countries without domestic electric vehicle supply chains would be left dependent on China, the United States, or Europe for a technology that would define the next several decades of the auto industry. What Canada underestimated, along with most of the auto industry globally, was the speed and shape of the transition. The plans announced from 2022 through 2024 were built on demand curves that assumed electric vehicle adoption would keep accelerating in roughly a straight line. What actually happened was that adoption hit a plateau in several major markets. Charging infrastructure did not scale as fast as vehicle production did. Battery costs came down more slowly than projected. And critically, U.S. trade and industrial policy shifted in ways that changed the economics of where automakers wanted to build. This last point matters more than almost anything else in this story. Tariff uncertainty and shifting U.S. industrial policy through 2025 made cross-border supply chains for EV components meaningfully riskier for automakers planning multi-billion-dollar facilities. When a company is deciding where to place a battery plant that will operate for 30 years, the question is not just what does demand look like today? It is what does the trade relationship between Canada and the US look like for the entire operating life of this plant? That answer became considerably less certain through 2025, and Honda's pause lines up with that timeline closely enough that it cannot be treated as a coincidence. So the honest version of the story is not that Canada lied about its EV ambitions. It is that Canada, and the companies it partnered with, made a large strategic bet on a demand trajectory and a trade environment that did not materialize the way the original plan assumed. The lie, if there is one, is more accurately described as an overconfident promise made during a period when everyone in the industry was overconfident at the same time. That is a less satisfying headline. It is a more accurate one. Unifor, the union representing Canadian auto workers, called the 2025 delay a serious blow to the workforce. And that characterization is not an exaggeration. The 1,000 jobs at the center of this story were never abstract. They were specific roles tied to specific facilities, recruited against specific timelines that workers, contractors, and local suppliers in the Alliston area planned around. When a project moves from under construction to delayed 2 years to paused indefinitely, the damage is not limited to the jobs that were supposed to exist. It extends to every decision made around the expectation that they would. Workers who turned down other opportunities because Honda was hiring, local suppliers who invested in capacity to serve the new plant, apprenticeship programs built around an anticipated wave of skilled trades demand. None of that shows up in Honda's press release. All of it is real. And this is where the comparison to the broader Canadian auto sector becomes unavoidable. Honda is not acting alone. Ford delayed its own electric vehicle plans in Oakville in 2024, shifting that facility's timeline and product mix in response to the same demand softness. Stellantis has faced its own production adjustments across its Canadian operations. The pattern across the sector is consistent. Companies that made aggressive electric vehicle commitments during the period from 2021 to 2023 are now recalibrating almost universally. And Canada's manufacturing base is absorbing the consequences of bets made when the future looked more certain than it turned out to be. So what does this actually mean going forward? And what should you take from a story that involves a company, a government, and a workforce all operating on assumptions that didn't hold? If you are a worker in or around Ontario's auto sector, the honest read of this situation is that electric vehicle-specific roles carry more uncertainty right now than traditional internal combustion or hybrid manufacturing roles. That does not mean electric vehicle manufacturing in Canada is finished. Honda has not canceled the investment, and the underlying logic for wanting a domestic battery supply chain has not gone away. But paused indefinitely means exactly what it says. There is no published date. Planning your career or your household finances around a fixed timeline for these jobs returning would not be supported by what Honda has actually said. If you are watching this as someone weighing whether to buy an electric vehicle, the demand softness driving this story is connected to factors that are at least partially in policymakers' control. The removal of federal purchase incentives had a measurable effect on electric vehicle sales. Whether or not those incentives return, and in what form, is one of the more direct levers Ottawa has to influence whether projects like Honda's eventually restart on a real timeline rather than an indefinite one. If you are watching this as someone trying to understand Canadian industrial policy more broadly, the lesson is not that electric vehicle manufacturing was a bad bet. It is that single company, single region commitments of this size carry real exposure to global demand cycles and trade policy that no provincial or federal government fully controls. Ontario is not the only jurisdiction learning this lesson. Battery and electric vehicle projects have faced delays or cancellations in the US, in Europe, and in parts of Asia over the same period for similar underlying reasons. What makes this story worth paying attention to is not whether Honda specifically follows through on Alliston. It is what the pause reveals about how fragile these large industrial announcements actually are once the macro environment shifts even moderately from the assumptions baked into the original plan. A $15 billion investment, 4 facilities, 1,000 jobs, all of it sat on a forecast. The forecast moved. And there is, right now, no mechanism that forces a company to make workers, suppliers, or governments whole when forecasts move and indefinite becomes the operative word. That is not unique to Honda, and it is not unique to electric vehicles. But it is a pattern worth recognizing the next time a company stands next to a premier or a prime minister and announces the largest investment in some industry's history. The number on the day of the announcement is real. The number 5 years later depends on a forecast nobody in that room can actually guarantee. Honda has not broken a promise in any legal sense. It delayed a project in response to real market conditions, exactly as its contracts and shareholder obligations allow it to do. What it has done is demonstrate clearly and publicly how much weight a government can put on a single corporate forecast, and how quickly that weight can become unsupported when the forecast changes. The Alliston plant is not canceled. It is also not coming on the timeline anyone was told to expect. For the workers who planned around the original date, that distinction does not change very much. If you found this interesting, check out this video here.